With over 300 episodes, American Dad has become one of the longest-running adult animated series of all time, rivaling the greats like Family Guy, The Simpsons, and South Park. And what makes those shows stand out? Oh, you know it, it's gotta be the guest stars, and American Dad has some of the best in the biz. So what are my top 10 favorites? Well, you gotta tune in to find out. Ahoy hoy gang, if this is your first time with us, welcome, and if you're joining us from a previous video, hey, we love to see it, and I hope you're doing well. I looked near and far, and here's my top 10 American Dad guest stars! Number 10, Ken Jung. I just really love flirting with disaster. Between that mockumentary Office style and just great jokes about Stan and his Thunder Buns, there's a lot to love. And I think the camera crew is a big reason behind that, especially with Ken Jung asking about those launch codes. It's just, Ken Jung is a very special talent on American Dad, and I love the manic energy he brings to this episode. He's not in a ton of it, but he stands out, and he's easily one of the most quotable characters of the Fox era. I don't know. I love when he's in here, and this is very much in that same time period as when he was doing The Hangover and really starting to find that modern popularity. So hearing him here, he's still being very earnest. It's much like his appearance in The Goods, Live Hard, Sell Hard, which I will always say is a must-watch movie. Does anyone know about any launch codes? That's great. It's simple, it's stupid, it's funny, it works. And Niecy Nash is also in the episode. It's just, Ken Jung just keeps pulling me back in. I don't know. I always get excited when I see his character and I can quote all of his lines from memory. It's just fun. It's just absolutely fun. Number 9, Clancy Brown. I was debating this one, but I think we can call Clancy Brown a guest star, unlike, say, Tom Kenny, who shows up in several episodes. Clancy Brown, I believe, is only in 3, and even then, they're minor roles at best, except for his first major appearance in Joint Custody, which might be one of my favorite, if not my favorite episodes of all time. And a lot of that is because of Clancy Brown being Jeff's horrible, horrible dad. You can tell he was just having a ton of fun with the role, and it shines through. When he's getting the gang together to go and find Jeff's trophies, he goes, "What? You didn't win anything? Well, that would mean my son's a failure." It's perfect. And then you have him in these brief appearances in like For Whom the Sleigh Bell Tolls, where he's just the liquor store worker that tells Roger about the mystical moonshine up in the mountains. And that's how you know you have a great guest star. When they're not just going, "I'm Clancy Brown and here I am doing voices for you." They're very hidden. And I know other ones later on the list aren't hidden at all, but they're very romanticized versions of themselves. They're very exaggerated. And here, you don't have to have Clancy Brown be an exaggerated version of Clancy Brown. He's just there having a good time, playing a horrible character in the best possible way. Every time I come back to that episode, I am blown away at how recognizable Clancy Brown is and how unrecognizable he is at the same time. It's rare that he gets a chance to just do good comedy voiceover, other than, Mr. Krabs or every dark villain voice ever. It's nice to hear him just sorta be himself, and it shines through in that episode like nobody else. Number 8, Terry Crews. I had so many people in my comments going, "That's not Terry Crews, that's DMX. Everyone knows that this episode is DMX, not Terry Crews." And the fact that everyone thought that the insurance adjuster was DMX and not Terry Crews shows just how good Terry Crews is. I mean, he is the perfect voice for that character. His raps are great. That smooth R&B when Roger is flying everybody into the sun is fantastic. He is terrific. And he honestly makes an episode like Rubberneckers, an episode I'm usually not a huge fan of, watchable. Like, I will actually go back through and rewatch Rubberneckers, which is one of the weirdest musical episodes of the whole show, just because of Terry Cruz's bits. And the fact that it's very obviously a reference to DMX, and he's doing this sort of DMX impression, really shines through. It's just, I don't know, I'm so glad he comes back later on in the show. I'm so glad it's not just a one-off appearance, and he is one of the few characters that is not only voiced by the same person, but would also show up in both the Fox and TBS eras. If you look at someone like Turlington, in the Fox era, he was Forrest Whitaker. In the TBS era, he's actually Craig Robinson, which is Craig Robinson's amazing. Who doesn't love Craig Robinson? But Terry Crews really made this character his own, and he's one of my favorites. I love every time they've incorporated him in. Terry Crews seems to have a ton of fun with the character, and he's just a wonderful voice talent, and I light up every time I hear him. Number 7, Kate Mulgrew. I don't know, this is very funny to me, because Family Guy, they're like, oh, huge Star Trek fans, here's not quite William Shatner, and then here's Patrick Stewart as a recurring character. Well, Patrick Stewart's frequently in American Dad as Bullock, and you got Kate Mulgrew, so you have Captain Janeway. There are more Star Trek captains in American Dad than there are any other Seth MacFarlane program. And honestly, I just need him to get Cisco and maybe Scott Bakula, and then we're cooking with gas. And I think I picked Kate Mulgrew not only because, Voyager's my favorite Star Trek, but also because in an episode so over-encumbered with massive talent, she stands out. I mean, this episode has Mickey Rooney in one of his last roles before he passed. It has Stan Lee. And then you have Kate Mulgrew, almost unrecognizable as the widow of the famous actor. She's great. She has this weird energy to her, and her line delivery feels so natural. And through this list, I think we can see that a lot of the people that guest star on American Dad are huge American Dad fans. They know what they're looking for. Now, granted, I don't think Mickey Rooney is a huge American Dad fan, or was, but him just going, "We'll use the computers," is still one of my favorite lines of the entire show. But Kate Mulgrew as the widow is just, it's good. She sells that very Sunset Boulevard, noir, 1920s Hollywoodland feel of A Star Is Reborn. I love hearing her, and she is a big reason of why I love that episode so much and always go back to it. Number 6, JB Smoove. Now, yes, this is a bit of a Cheaty Puff Jr. answer, but every time I hear JB Smoove in American Dad, I get excited. Whether it's as Lewis's prison lover, or the security guard in Wonder Cabinet, or even just the airport security guard that shows up a couple of times, he's brilliant. Any episode he is in, he has some of the best lines. He better not be showing me another knocked out guy. That's great. That's wonderful. It's short, it's sweet, it's simple. He has such a unique cadence and such a unique delivery that it really makes the episode shine whenever he's there. And you could also put Angelica Houston here, and they were even in the same episode together. But JB Smoove, he fits American Dad more than he'd fit in Cleveland Show or Family Guy. Which, if you compare, say, his performance in Harley Quinn as Poison Ivy's Plant to the side characters he plays in American Dad, the Plant in Harley Quinn is much more of a wooden performance. Meanwhile, in American Dad, he's much more loose. He's seen episodes of American Dad. He knows what they're looking for, and he presents that weird, interesting performance. And he's been in both Fox and TBS era episodes of American Dad, and he doesn't feel out of place in either era. If anything, I would actually argue his performance in Wonder Cabinet is better than any of his Fox appearances, and he has way fewer lines, but he's just like, "My butt is broken. Oh, I shouldn't have jumped. I shouldn't have used that ramp. Oh no." It's so dumb, but it fits the tone of the episode perfectly, and just better shapes Wonder Cabinet into one of the best episodes of American Dad. He is an integral part of making that episode shine, and if a guest character is integral to making an episode good, they get put even higher up on the list. Number 5, The Weeknd. Ooh, I bet I have a lot of people confused right now, because I just said if you're involved in the episode, you're going to get higher on the list. And here we have The Weeknd, someone that actually helped write the episode that he was in, A Star Boy Is Born. And yeah, he's number 5. He's great. Everybody loves The Weeknd being a magical little virgin boy. I adore this episode. It's one of my favorite episodes, and a lot of that is because The Weeknd is making fun of himself. The Weeknd is having fun. If this was Family Guy, you know, Peter and The Weeknd would be fighting, and then, I don't know, Stewie would do something with Brian, and it would just be something sad. But in American Dad, they are willing to let The Weeknd be weird, because it's not just the Smiths that are odd. Everyone in this world is different, is unique. And of course Haley wants to sleep with The Weeknd. And then, you know, I'll say it, I'm a Virgin, easily one of the best songs in all of American Dad. I am so upset more people don't talk about this Weeknd song, because even as just like a Weeknd song, it's fantastic. It's just, I'm a virgin. I don't know, maybe I'm just burnt out from seeing The Idol and thinking anything is better than that, but I really do think there was enough care put into the episode that not only does The Weeknd feel parodied, but realized, and that's such an important balance to find. They will make fun of people like Kim Kardashian and Blog Snarsto Love Story, but you can tell that Kim Kardashian is very in on the joke and is happy about it. No one, I think, is upset with their portrayal in American Dad. And that's because American Dad, through all the changes, has always respected the viewer, the actors, and the guests. And yet, despite all of that, The Weeknd, in my opinion, is a secondary character. Number 4, Forest Whitaker. This one's my tried and true. This is the one that I discovered when I was a kid, and it blew me away. I had just watched Ghost Dog, which if you want one of the wildest movies you'll ever see, watch Ghost Dog. I need to hear Forest Whitaker talk about Ghost Dog for like 9 hours. Please do it. It's great. When I first saw that Forest Whitaker was in American Dad, I was blown away. I was like, who is that? That voice sounds odd. And then I saw the credits, like, that was Forest Whitaker? I need to know. Is Forest Whitaker a fan of American Dad? Is Mariah Carey a fan of American Dad? We never see American Dad representation. Are these people massive fans of American Dad? I need to know Forest Whitaker's top 5 American Dad episodes, because I'll tell you this, Agent Turlington is one of my favorite characters. I loved every time Turlington showed up, from the Trans Fats episode to the spa episode in Chimdale. He's great. I love Forest Whitaker in this because he's so earnest with his performance. He is giving an Emmy award-winning performance as a man that's investigating if people, you know, got snuck into a spa on a contest win. It's so fun. And like, obviously, Forest Whitaker is not a man that takes himself too seriously. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been in that Criminal Minds spinoff. Look it up. Lasted a season. Wasn't great. Also had Janine Garofalo in it, which was odd. And while I do absolutely love Craig Robinson, I will stand by the fact that Turlington should have just never come back if Forest Whitaker did not want to reprise the role. He made Turlington who Turlington is. He was able to craft such a unique character that stood out, and every time he came back, he was beloved. He was a highlight of that episode. And I didn't even mention his first appearance in Meter Maid. Like, the fact that he's been around since, like, season 3 and went all the way through the Fox era, it's incredible. I love Forest Whitaker. I have always been a huge fan of his, and hearing him in this light comedic role just always warms my heart. I love him. Number 3, Chris Pine. You don't need to hear me gush about how great Rabbit Ears is again, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Rabbit Ears is easily one of the best American Dad episodes, bar none. It's a fantastic Twilight Zone episode. It's got Richard Kind as Tuttle being absolutely incredible. But the one thing that makes it shine more than anything is Alistair Kovacs, played by Chris Pine. Much like Forest Whitaker, I could not tell that was Chris Pine the first time I listened to it. Now, it's all I hear. He is easily one of the best guest stars on the show, and he's been on several times. When Stan gets the hair plugs, the doctor, that's Chris Pine. And Chris Pine is a great voice actor. Not only is he a phenomenal actor, but he is fantastic in things like, again, Super Mansion and, of course, American Dad. I love hearing him. And it's just, he is so menacing, and the role is not a funny role at all. He is not trying to get you to laugh, but he has that passive charm, that very 1960s aesthetic that makes you forget he was in Wish. It's just so disarming and yet so alarming at the same time. His performance is very, for lack of a better term, hypnotic. You believe that this is a weird episode of American Dad because of how straight he's playing Alistair. He's not playing it up as some big menacing villain until the end of the episode, and so it really does feel like, okay, this is odd. I'm not sure how I feel about any of this. What's going on? Why is Alistair just going, "Salutations, Nighthawks"? Like, what's the big joke here? What do you mean there isn't a joke? Why isn't there something else going on? It's so good. I could sing the praises of Chris Pine all day, every day. I encourage everyone to watch Super Mansion. Its greatest crime was that it was on Crackle. Otherwise, it's a classic. Whenever I need to remind myself that Chris Pine is one of the greats, I revisit Rabbit Ears, because I genuinely believe that is a career best performance for him, and you can tell he really loves American Dad. The real fans give the best performances. Number 2, Michael Imperioli. Now, was all of this an excuse to just talk about the newest season of American Dad that's coming out right now on TBS on Mondays? Make sure to tune in. No, it wasn't. But I will admit, having watched piece by piece, it definitely sold me on this season. I had actually not seen much of season 19. I was trying to hold off until the season was done so that I could marathon it and do my review. But I watched piece by piece. I saw that it mentioned Roger's dad. I'm like, oh, don't jump the shark with Roger's dad. Don't do that. Come on. I thought we were cool, bro. I thought we were having fun. Like, there's some things you don't need to see. You don't need to see Jeff's mom. You don't need to see Roger's parents. You really don't need to see any more of Klaus's life. Those are all very potentially shark jumping elements. And yet, when I saw Roger's dad, when I heard Roger's dad, I was expecting, I'm Roger's dad. I also have personas and am weird. But we don't get that. We get a fully realized character. We get Fred, the deadbeat dad that you absolutely believe has just been on Earth doing his own persona thing and avoiding his son like the plague. And that's because he was brought beautifully to life by Michael Imperioli, who, as anyone that knows anything about American Dad knows, is an American Dad superfan. He loves the show. He has been very vocal about his love of the show. And so to have him in such a role is honestly great. I love hearing the passion in his voice, and he's never doing his own Roger impersonation. He is playing Fred as his own character, and that makes the character so much stronger. Piece by Piece is actually like my second favorite episode of the entire season, really only behind the grocery store bank, which, I don't know, it just tickles something in me I can't explain. He's so earnest. His delivery is so perfect. Like, as far as voice acting goes, if you listen to the cadence and how he's talking, if you listen to his delivery, this is a man that knows how to play a Roger-esque character. This is a man that has seen every episode easily twice. This is someone that understands the patterns, how to play off of not only a Roger character, but also Steve or Stan. And it works. I know it sounds like I'm rambling, but I implore you to watch piece by piece. I beg you to listen to Imperioli's performance, because it is one of the best in American Dad, bar none. He is giving just an absolutely astounding delivery, and it honestly makes Seth MacFarlane's Roger shine that much better. Having someone like Imperioli to play off of gives him a way to actually make Roger a little vulnerable. I don't know. It really took me by surprise. And number 1, Breckin Meyer. Now, if you thought this video was a thinly veiled attempt for me to be able to talk about how much I love Breckin Meyer, congratulations, you're right! Breckin Meyer's the #1 American Dad guest star. He's the #1 superstar. People are like, oh, isn't Breckin Meyer that failure from the 90s? You thought? Did you know that he's one of the most prolific voice actors in the game? And thanks to his writing and technique, he was able to help Robot Chicken become the mainstay it is today. And his delivery is great. I lost it when I saw Breckin Meyer in A Star Boy Is Born. And that's not even his only appearance. He shows up, I think, like 3 times throughout the series so far, and he's been phenomenal. I love hearing his voice. And again, he's just bringing so much great energy into the episodes he's in. When he's the Old West photo guy that's trying to get Jeff to be his best friend, that's amazing. That's perfect. Every time I hear him in an episode, I just light up. And if you can evoke that kind of emotion every time you show up in a show, anytime you show up in anything, that just goes to show how good you are. I mean, don't get me wrong, Michael Imperioli, fantastic. Forrest Whitaker, of course, an Emmy Award-winning legend. But Breckin Meyer needs his flowers. That man was not only in 2 Garfield movies, but Rat Race, one of the best underappreciated movies of all time, and Supermansion. He played a guy that worked at Arby's and was fantastic. Breckin Meyer's fantastic. That's the whole video. You watch for, what, 20-some minutes just to hear Breckin Meyer is great. Congratulations, you played yourself. No, it's just, when you're able to capture the magic of the TBS era of American Dad in your performance, you're doing something right. He fits so naturally into any episode he's in that you'd think he was a, main cast member, but he's not. He only shows up a few times, but every time is unique. Every time is special. And I know I'm just gushing about voice actors and whatnot, but it really is a craft we take for granted. And I think we definitely need to appreciate how much care, how much effort these amazing guest stars have put into one of the best shows ever made. And there we have it. That's my top 10 American Dad guest stars. Anything you think I was right on, wrong on? Who are your favorite guest stars of the show? Least favorite? Let me know in the comments below. And if you liked what you saw, consider liking, subscribing, and telling your friends. We're out here. This is just the start of our 20th anniversary American Dad celebration, and I plan on having more videos coming out as we celebrate 20 years of one of the best Seth MacFarlane shows. And honestly, it's pretty easy to see how the show has maintained momentum after all these years. The guests love coming on, and American Dad loves to have the superfans finally get their time to shine. Whether they're exaggerated personalities or entirely new characters, there's always something to love when you see a guest star in American Dad. Anyway, that's going to do it for us here at the Lecture Hall. And if you want to support the channel, consider joining our Patreon or membership programs today. $2 a month gets you special polls, posts, and even your name on this fancy list. Yeah, look at it. Like always, thank you so much for watching. Stay strong, keep fighting that good fight, and know that I believe in you. Rising tide lifts all ships, and I can feel one hell of a wave a-coming. Goodbye, everybody, and I'll see you all next time.